Now, it's easy for hobbies and interests to become addictions, and addictions can become expensive. Has this ever happened to you? And of course, we all know these people. Now, I love to read, but I also love movies, and I can tell you the book isn't always necessarily better, but it's a pointless battle to wage because art is subjective. But if you don't have the time or the finances to read all of the books and all of the movies that you want, then fear not. Here is my completely unbiased, totally objective review of some popular books and their movie adaptations, so hey, you don't even have to think for yourself.
Round 1. Fight!
So the first on my list is Jurassic Park, and this one just really baffles me because the book is a really fascinating exploration of the limits and the capabilities and the ethics of genetic manipulation, with some in-depth discussions of chaos theory and the implications of playing God via DNA manipulation all thrown together. It's also a thrilling survival story with undertones of corporate espionage. It uses enough real science to make the whole scenario sound plausible, even though it's all been pretty well debunked by now. This book really delivers the goods. The movie, on the other hand, is 2 hours of such witty dialogue as...
Hold on to your butts.
Plus an irritating 12-year-old computer nerd.
I am not a computer nerd. I prefer to be called a hacker.
Oh, well, excuse the crap out of me. But you take 2 hours of like this...
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Add a shirtless Jeff Goldblum, and what you get is a steaming pile of copper lights that's, you know, it's okay to pass a rainy Saturday afternoon, but all in all, stick to the book. Next up is American Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis's darkly savage look at the soulless, decadent 1980s. Now, both the book and the movie are graphic, disturbing, and absolutely hilarious. Also, most importantly, both the book and the movie leave it on kind of an ambiguous note, which really leaves you guessing as to whether Patrick Bateman is like the luckiest serial killer who ever lived, or just a faceless, extremely vivid and violent imagination. So the movie adaptation takes a few liberties with supporting characters, adds a few events. Obviously it takes out a few events due to time constraints, but the main difference is really that some of the events are told in a slightly different order, which frankly makes a lot more sense in the movie. I also like Patrick Bateman's closing soliloquy in the movie, which it also appears in the novel, but somewhere kind of in the middle. So I feel that robs a really good speech of most of its punch. So in short, while both are good, you can probably skip the book. Definitely watch the movie. So I brought in the big guns. Got my sidekick Oreo here to help me with the rest of these. And it's a good thing too, because now we're coming to a biggie. The Lord of the Rings. Now this is arguably J.R.R. Tolkien's masterwork, and it is really the foundation for all high fantasy of the 20th and 21st centuries, but I'm just going to cut to the chase. I prefer to watch the movies. Hold on. Before you form an angry mob, give me a second to explain. The book trilogy it's undoubtedly a masterpiece, but here's the problem. Tolkien was not a novelist. He was a linguist, and he was a folklorist, but when it came to writing his opus, you can't ignore the fact that from a plotting standpoint, it is a goddamn mess. Now, in most formats, this trilogy is over 1,600 pages long. Now, the length is not necessarily a problem in and of itself. The problem is that the story is constantly starting and stopping itself, while Tolkien indulges himself in page after page of songs and poetry written in his made-up Elvish languages, or where he just goes on and on reciting the lineage of characters who were dead 1,000 years before this story even started. Now, I will grant you, the movie trilogy is also brutally long, and even still a lot of really good scenes were cut, but they also remove a lot of the unnecessary filler, and they do a really good job of keeping the story moving along at a decent pace. Oh, and just for the record, stop saying that you're mad that they cut out all of the scenes with Tom Bombadil, okay? No one wants to see or listen to Tom Bombadil. The only people who say that are people who read the first half of the first book and then got tired and gave it up, and now they're trying to make themselves look smart. That whole scene was just Tolkien's way of trying to show that the world outside of the Shire was weird and dangerous and full of unexplained forces, but it just stops the story dead. There are a number of things I wish they hadn't had to cut out of the movie trilogy. Tom Bombadil ain't one of them. Now, since we're here, we may as well bitch about The Hobbit too. Now, here's what pisses me off. This is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Trilogy, 3 books, 3 movies. Makes sense. And yeah, a lot of stuff got cut out, but I mean, that's going to be true of any adaptation, like 99% of the time. Now, here's the problem. This is The Hobbit. 1 book. Should have gotten 1 movie. Maybe 2 if you really wanted to tell the story without bothering with things like, I don't know, editing. But no, this is cynical Hollywood jackassery at its finest. They dragged this smallish, simple book into 3 long-ass movies. And in order to pad it out, they added new characters, new scenes, new entire subplots just to cash in on this. And it shows. It was unnecessary and obvious, and in the end, they still managed to strip all of the childlike wonder and joy and enchantment from it. So in this case, unlike The Lord of the Rings, I say skip the movies, stick with the book. Alright peeps, that's all we're going to cover for today, but be sure to check out part 2. If you like this video, or if you just want to see more of this little guy, say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Hi, buddy, yes.
He's like, what did I do?
You want to see a movie? Next time, buddy, promise. Go to your bed. Of the 20th and 21st centuries. But I'm just going to cut to the chase.